great lie. We tell ourselves we need to talk about the biggest lie you've ever told yourself. It's a lie that has killed more dreams, ruined more potential, and wasted more time than any external obstacle ever could. The lie is simple. I'll do it when I feel like doing it. We have this subconscious belief that before we take action, whether it's writing that book, going to the gym, or having that difficult conversation, we need to be in the right state. We wait for inspiration, we wait for confidence, we wait for the anxiety to go away, and so we sit, and we wait, and we scroll. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are not talking about hustle culture or grinding until you burn out. We are diving deep into a masterpiece of practical philosophy, The Art of Taking Action by Gregg Krech. This book is different. It doesn't tell you to get pumped up. It draws on Japanese psychology, specifically Morita Therapy, Naikan, and Kaizen, to teach us a completely different way to operate. By the end of this video, you are going to learn how to separate your actions from your feelings, how to coexist with your anxiety, and how to finally stop waiting for a lightning bolt of motivation that may never come. Let's start with the root of the problem. In the West and increasingly globally, we are obsessed with our feelings. We treat our emotions like the captain of the ship. If the captain says, "I'm sad," or "I'm tired," or "I'm anxious," the whole ship stops moving. We believe that to do good work, we must feel good. Krech argues that this is a fundamental trap. When you let your emotional state dictate your behavior, you become a hostage to your fluctuating moods. And let's be honest, human moods are like the weather, unpredictable and constantly changing. The alternative approach, rooted in Morita Therapy, offers a liberating truth. You can do the things you need to do, even while feeling terrible. You can write a brilliant essay while feeling bored. You can run a mile while feeling lethargic. You can ask for a raise while shaking with fear. The quality of the action is not dependent on the quality of the feeling. This is the first major shift. Stop trying to fix your feelings before you start. Accept the feeling, but do the task anyway. Lesson 1. Lead with the body. There is a brilliant concept in the book called leading with the body. Usually we try to lead with the mind. We try to think our way into action. We sit on the couch and try to mentally psych ourselves up to go for a run. We have a mental debate. Should I go? It's cold. Maybe tomorrow. No, I really should. This mental debate is exhausting. It drains the energy you actually need for the run. Krech suggests we flip this. Don't consult your mind. Just move your feet. If you need to wash the dishes, don't think about the grease or the time it will take. Just stand up, walk to the sink, and turn on the tap. Once the body's moving, the mind usually falls in line. Action generates momentum. You have likely experienced this. The hardest part of the gym is putting on your shoes. The hardest part of writing is opening the laptop. The friction is in the start. If you bypass the mental debate and just physically move, you break the paralysis. Lesson 2. Coexisting with anxiety. Now let's address the elephant in the room, fear and anxiety. Most self-help gurus tell you to conquer your fears or become fearless. The Art of Taking Action says that is nonsense. Fear is a natural human preservation mechanism. Trying to eliminate fear before taking action is like trying to eliminate the waves before surfing. You can't stop the waves. You just have to learn to surf them. This is where the concept of arugama comes in, accepting things as they are. When you have a big project due or a public speech to give, you will feel anxious. That is a fact. Instead of wasting energy fighting that anxiety, saying, "I shouldn't be nervous," you simply acknowledge it. You say, "Okay, I am nervous. My hands are sweating. My heart is beating fast. Now I am going to walk up to the podium and speak." You take the fear with you. You put fear in the passenger seat. It can scream and shout all it wants, but you are the one driving the car. Lesson 3. The danger of someday and impermanence. There is a heavier, more philosophical side to this book that is incredibly motivating. Krech talks about Buddhist impermanence. We act as if we have infinite time. We say, "I'll do that someday." But someday is not a day of the week. Someday is a code word for never. The reality is, our time is finite. We are dying. That sounds morbid, but it is the ultimate call to action. When we truly understand that we might not be here next year, or that our parents won't be here forever, or that our children are growing up every second, procrastination starts to look ridiculous. Why are you waiting to write that book? Why are you waiting to take that trip? Because you're not in the mood? In the face of death, not being in the mood is a terrible excuse. This perspective shifts us from a place of laziness to a place of urgency, not stressful panic, but a precious respect for the present moment. Lesson 4. Kaizen, the power of small steps. So how do we actually execute this when the task feels huge? The answer lies in Kaizen, the art of small, continuous improvements. Often we freeze because the goal is too big. Write a thesis is terrifying. Clean the entire garage is overwhelming. When the brain sees a massive task, it triggers a threat response. We shut down. The solution is to make the steps so small it is impossible to fail. Don't write the chapter, just write the opening sentence. Don't clean the garage, just pick up one cardboard box and break it down. Krech emphasizes that we underestimate the power of small actions over time. A river cuts through rock not because of its power, but because of its persistence. If you write 15 minutes a day, you will have a book in a year. If you wait for a week-long writer's retreat that never happens, you will have nothing. Lower the bar. Make the start easy. Lesson 5. Naikan. One of the most surprising parts of the book is the connection between action and gratitude, known as Naikan. You might wonder, what does gratitude have to do with productivity? Everything. Often we procrastinate because we are self-absorbed. We focus on how hard our life is, how tired we are, how unfair the workload is. This victim mindset drains our energy. Naikan asks us to reflect on 3 questions. What have I received from others? What have I given to others? What troubles have I caused others? When you realize how much support you are constantly receiving, the electricity powering your computer, the farmers who grew your lunch, the ancestors who paved the way, you realize you are supported by the universe. This shifts your perspective from, I have to do this work, to I get to do this work. Action becomes a way of saying thank you to the world. It's a subtle shift, but it changes the energy from resistance to contribution. Lesson 6. The trap of perfectionism. We cannot talk about taking action without talking about perfectionism. Perfectionism is often just procrastination, dressed up in a tuxedo. It looks fancy, but it does the same thing. It stops you from moving. We think, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. Krech reminds us that action is messy. Real life is messy. Waiting for the perfect circumstances, the perfect equipment, or the perfect draft is a fool's errand. There is a Japanese aesthetic called wabi-sabi, which finds beauty in imperfection and impermanence. Apply this to your work. A messy draft is better than a blank page. A clumsy 10-minute workout is infinitely better than a perfect hour-long workout that you skipped. Embrace the messy start. You can always edit a bad page. You can't edit a blank page. Practical application. Your action plan. So how do we take all this Japanese psychology and apply it to our lives starting right now? Here is the protocol. Next time you find yourself procrastinating, catch yourself waiting to feel good. Identify the feeling, boredom, fear, laziness, and say to yourself, I see you, but we are moving anyway. Then shrink the task. If you're avoiding emails, say, I will open the laptop and read 1 email. That's it. Often that's enough to break the seal. And finally, bring your attention to the present. Don't think about the finish line. Just focus on the sensation of your fingers on the keyboard or your feet on the pavement. Immerse yourself in the reality of the action, not the fantasy of the outcome. The choice is yours. To wrap this up, the art of taking action teaches us that a meaningful life isn't built on happy feelings or perfect motivation. It is built on what we do. Our legacy is defined by our actions, not our intentions. You can have the most beautiful thoughts and the most ambitious dreams, but if they stay in your head, they die with you. The world needs your contribution. It needs your art, your work, your kindness, and your effort. Don't withhold it just because you feel a little tired or a little scared. Step out of your mind and into your life. The water might be cold, the waves might be high, but you have to jump in. That is where life is happening.